boys and girls, welcome back to Waylon Wire's Old Iron. You know, working with these old rigs seems like sometimes you take one step forward and it's three back. And that's kind of the way it's been for me around here this year, this summer, spring and summer. I got hung up with that rockabilly for a long time before I finally got it diagnosed, and then I got it straightened out, and I was going to start catching up on some of the other maintenance on these other rigs that needs to be done. And I had that little red truck, the one that burnt last spring. I had that boy just about ready to hit the road. I was on my last little mission, and then probably this afternoon, by this afternoon, I was ready to call the insurance company and put it back on the insurance and take it out on the road and start driving the wheels off of it, because I love that old truck. Well, I was talking about one step forward and three back. Well, sometimes it goes a little worse than that. You even get thrown back even a little further. So, well, that's the way it goes sometimes. So, let's take a look. Hey, welcome to Rat Rodding. My name's Waylon Wire, and don't ever do what we do here on this channel. You know, in that last video on the intro, I was talking about how that all spring and summer had been one step forward and three back, you know, and how I just wasn't making any headway. And then finally, working on this thing and getting that steering column swapped out, I was finally feeling like I was just making some little strides forward, you know, and I talked about that. And nope. I shouldn't have jinxed it. I'm dealing with issues now that totally unrelated to the fire. I still haven't been able to drive this truck yet. Well, what I mean by that is I have not driven it other than just some real short little shakedown runs. I didn't feel like it was quite roadworthy yet. And that fire happened last May, I think it was. Yeah. Drove it into town the other night. I was all happy it was back and running and got the steering column swapped out. And I thought, well, I'm going to take it in and gas it up, you know. Well, I got in town and all of a sudden, snap, boy, she died just like you pulled the coil wire out of it, you know. Funny I should mention that. Anyway, messed around with it and was getting fire to the coil, but not to the plugs. And I go, okay, I can't deal with this alongside the road. It was 107 degrees. So I called my buddy Todd, and he brought me up here. I got the work truck, and I towed this thing home and got in here and started investigating. And well, I found a little spot on a wire, on the coil wire, going up from the distributor to the coil. I plugged in underneath, you know, by the tack wire and the coil wire. I had a little bare spot on it and shorted out in front of the module. Well, no big deal. I had one laying in the toolbox, you know. I keep things like that around. So, got that swapped out. And was getting ready to run it into town, and it again, because the fire ran up. But then it died and it wouldn't start again, and I started watching the fuel filter, and it's not picking up any fuel. Now this thing has dual tanks on it, and when you switch tanks, it's got a manual lever, manual valve to switch tanks, and I've got an electric one here that I bought for it, and that's something I want to do. I just never did, you know. Got that last year. I was going to put that on there because I want to have that to be an electric switch to switch tanks, just like on my little brown truck. It's got the factory dual tanks. This one, someone's added a tank, but I was able to get a bed for it when I restored the truck that had the dual doors. So it's nice having two tanks, but yeah, I used to drive this thing to Santa Maria, California, and I'd drive it from here to Weed, California, fill up and drive it to way down, I don't know, side of just around Sacramento somewhere, I guess, and fill it up again and drive it on into Santa Maria. But anyway, when you switch tanks, you got to switch on the fly, or it won't. If you're just sitting there with it turned off and you switch tanks, it won't pick up prime. It loses prime and it won't pick it up. So you got to switch it on the fly, which, it always gives you a little warning. You'll hear it chug, and you just reach down and hit the switch, turn the valve, and then pretty soon, bam, she takes off again. And that's just how it's always been. That's just part of the quirkiness of the old rig, and it's been that way ever since I had it, and 30 plus years ago. So now it's not getting any fuel. I don't see any fuel in the filter. I'm just fixing to investigate that. No big deal. It's just, one more little thing to take care of. I'm sure it's sucking air someplace, or I don't think the fuel pump's bad. I'll check it out. Anyway, this is not a big deal. I can handle this one. We'll figure it out. Well, it's just part of the family. I've had it so long. But anyway, that's enough. Just wrapping up a few details on this thing. Yeah, I need to get in here and wipe down the engine bay and clean it up a little bit, but it don't look too bad for as old as it is. And then I've got my wipers burned up, and I don't know, one of them was working stripped or something, I don't know, but I got two new wipers and blades, and then I discovered last night I have a headlight out and I have no license plate light. So I'm going to address those little issues, but I don't think they are video worthy. So I'm going to let you guys go get a cup of coffee or a glass of iced tea or whatever it is that you're doing, and I will take care of these little issues, and then hopefully we can take this thing for a ride, and maybe it won't break down. We'll see. Well, here we are again. In the last episode, I changed out this steering column, and I should have tested it while it was out, but I assumed it was good, and you should never assume anything with old used parts, but I didn't check into it, and I wish I had have, because I went to all that work to put it in, and it won't. After I got it in, I discovered you can't get the key out because it won't go into the lock position. It won't turn far enough. And you can't get the tumbler out unless it's in the lock position. So I'm just stuck. Just won't quite go into the lock. Yeah, this outer ring will turn, but that's not doing it. Got to go into the lock position. You see the lock right there, lock, and it won't do it. That little notch should line up with the lock. So here we are. Fun and games, boy, fun and games. Well, here I am back at square one. I did not want this thing sitting around broke down. At least I can drive it. I've got a kill switch on it for the time being. I just can't get the key out of it. So I guess I won't get too far from it. But what I will do, I've got that little kit that has that gear and that rod that goes in here, that's the problem with this one, is that gear's a little plastic gear in there, and it's got teeth stripped off on it. You can see it there. So I will do what I should have done to start with, and I'll take this thing all apart and I'll replace that gear and that rod, and then I'll swap it out and put this one back in. I'll have the correct column in it. It won't have that knob on it where the automatic shifter would have been. So, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Let me tell you what I like about this car right here, besides everything. The styling of this car is just something else. You know, this little slope right here on the front, where this hood slopes off, it does the same thing on the back, and that is just that is timeless. And another thing about this car that just makes these 63s are these two body line that goes across here, right here and here. The 63 was first year's vinyl top, and that was those body lines are there to give the illusion that if you're a distance from this car, it'll look kind of like a rag top. But I didn't want the vinyl on it. I wanted to expose these body lines. I just always liked these lines right here, and I think they just make the car. And here again is that little slope on the back. And you know, in 61 they were on their way. They didn't quite have it yet. In 62 they were getting closer. In 63, boy, they nailed it, you know. But then the 64, they went backwards. And the 64s are all squared off on the front. And they're boxy. They're too boxy. They don't have this beautiful body, this beautiful sculpture right here. So to me, this was the right one. And that's just my opinion. Well, guys, I really debated about whether or not to post the next couple of video clips that you're going to see here. I thought about it, and I really didn't want to, but I feel like I have to, because it really could save somebody's life. Somebody could see this video and say, "Ah, yeah, I better check that. I better take a look at that," you know. So I hope that's the outcome. Yeah, I guess that's all there is to say. Let's take a look. Well, I guess if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any at all. Ain't this a revolting development? I was just picking it up like I always do, and all of a sudden, kabam. I'm just sort of getting used to things like this anymore. Well, I just can't seem to catch a break. I was picking this truck up on the lift like I always do, and all of a sudden, it just fell off the lift. Just tore it all to pieces. Busted the door all up. Big gash in the fender. No telling what all else. It's leaking gas. I gotta try and get it down on the ground. I'm just kind of getting used to things like this happening around here. Almost there. I almost had this thing back on the road after the fire last spring. I rebuilt all that, pulled the engine, and did all that repair, put a new hood and all that stuff on it, windshield, did all that work, and boy, I was just almost back on the road. And the last thing I was going to do was put some shocks on this thing. And I was picking it up on the lift and had all the blocks and everything just like I've done for the last 20 years. And got about halfway up in the air, and she fell off the lift. So let's back it out here and take a look at it. Red truck that I've had for 36 years is just destroyed. Just destroyed. Tailgate's still good. Rear bumper's still good. Bed shot, got a big dent there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I brought it back from the fire, but I don't think I can afford to fix it this time. We'll see. We'll see. It's the way she goes. Sometimes you the windshield, sometimes you the bug. I'm a pretty big bug right now. Ah. Well, I drove this thing around here. I'm gonna stick it out of the shed, but I was just kind of, I don't know, reassessing and taking a look, and yeah, the fenders are shot and the doors are shot and the bed's shot, and I just getting ready to back it in under the shed there, and I noticed that the bed's all cattywampus on it. It's all crooked. So I don't know. Yeah, it just bent everything. So I guess the whole bed would have to be swapped out. Boy, that was a good bed too. Anyway, and it had the dual doors on it for my dual tanks, and the old bed, someone had added a tank, so they had just cut a hole in the side. But I found this bed when I restored the truck, and it was in really good shape. And yeah, I don't know, just kind of thinking about where to go with it. I can't afford to just fix it outright, but I don't know. I might have to sell this little brown one here in order to fix it. I could probably get a few bucks out of that, but I'm thinking about that truck out there too. You know, I agreed to sell that truck to my neighbors. Guy used to be my neighbor and my friends, and his little boy's 10 years old, and he wants a lifted 4x4, and I had agreed to sell that truck to him. And if they've, you know, I won't go back on my word, but if Darren knew what was going on with this, he might tell me, you know, because the little boy's he's only 10 years old, so they got a little bit of time to round up a truck for him. If I don't know, I'll talk to him, because he might tell me go ahead and use this truck for the bed and the fenders and the doors and everything. I'm hoping. Well, I don't know. It's kind of totaled, you know. If the cab's the only thing original on it anyway, but I don't know. They might be able. This seems to be okay here, and this they might be able to pop it out, you know, and without having to put too much Bondo in it. This seems cracked loose here. I don't know. I don't know anything about body work. An old cab may be pushed sideways or something. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a body man. But yeah, both the doors are destroyed. This fender's probably okay. It's just a little bit of stuff there, and I think the hood's maybe okay. Everything's just bent and out of shape now, but yeah, there's that truck out there's got a bed. This one here is not usable. Nothing usable on that. Oh yeah, anyway, we'll see. You guys stay tuned. This little truck may be for sale. I don't know yet. I just gotta think about it some more, and I don't want to make any rash decisions, you know. So yeah, you know, because that's a truck, you have to set blocks on the lift arms, the lift pads, to get up to the frame to pick it up, so the lift arms don't land somewhere in here and do a lot of damage. And so I set the blocks just like I have for the last 15 years, ever since I've had that lift, and I didn't see anything different about them. When I started picking it up, I always look at them and it looked fine, but for some reason today it decided to roll off the blocks. And you know I did something wrong. I don't know what, because it all looked like it always does, the way I set them in there every time. And yeah, I was just going to do shocks on it, and And then that's the last thing I was going to do to it. Put shocks on it and then put it on the insurance and start driving it. And then it was going to be back from the fire. I was going to have it on the road again. So, of course, you're sitting here. I didn't have insurance on it. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. Yep. Okay, I'm going to shut up. I think I'm still in shock. You know, I'm thinking that I'll wake up tomorrow and this will all be a bad dream. But nobody got hurt. I knocked the bark off my arm a little bit. I don't know exactly how that happened, but anyway, I'm all right. So, here we go. Stay tuned, I guess. Well, I discovered that the arm locks did not drop into place on this side. And if I'd been paying attention, I would have seen that and had that taken care of. It always comes back to me. I'm always the guy at fault. But that's what happened. Well, I've been lubing up these locks and they were sticking. That's what happened. They stuck up. The way that works is this pin sticks out through the bottom a little bit. So when you lower this all the way to the floor, it forces this up above these teeth. So you can move your arms around wherever you need them to be. And then it's supposed to just drop back down in place like that. And they were stuck up. They weren't dropping in. So I'm getting them freed up, working on them. They're just dirty. And I noticed these gears, some of these gears are not in real good shape. So I'm gonna look into, see if I can order some replacements for that. Yeah, sometimes these old lessons are pretty hard, aren't they? Okay, I got those pins lubed up and they're working better. There's a couple of them are still a little bit sticky, but you know, now I'm aware I'll be checking them, every one of them every time. It just, you know, it didn't cross my mind. But it will now. You know, I'm sure most of you figured out it could have been a lot worse. I have. This is the next day after all that happened, and I'm still just kind of processing it all, you know. I think yesterday I was just in shock. It was like, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and this is all gonna be a dream, you know. It's not a dream, it's a nightmare. But anyway, like I said, most of you figured out it could have been a lot worse, because the next thing I was going to do, that happened about halfway up, about where they are now, the arms are now. And I was going to pick it all the way up, and the next thing I was going to do was go underneath there and start wrenching and pulling and reefing on those bolts, on those shocks. And I'd have probably knocked it off the block, you know, and with the give in those arms, you know. And there ain't time to get out from under it, because I saw it fall. And I don't even know what happened. I knocked the bark off the bottom of my arm here. I think that arm swung out and hit me, but it all happened so fast. I don't even know how I got that, because I was all the way on this side of the thing. There's no way the truck could hit me, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was going to get under there and start reefing on those bolts for the shocks. And but when I think back on it all, well, yeah, it would have crushed me. When I think back on it all, oh, you know, I'm a grown-ass man, but I just about break down and cry when I think about how many times my grandson was underneath that lift. And where the pins dropping in, I don't know. I don't know. A couple of them probably not. So, yeah, be safe, guys. Thank you. Okay, guys, that'll do it for this time. I'm not sure what's coming up next, but I guess I'll be here, up here on the mountain. check in and see what old Waylon Myers up to next time. By the way, it'd help me out a whole lot if you smash that like button and pulverize that subscribe button. Yeah, that would help me out quite a bit, and that helps my video get shared, and it won't cost you anything. So that's good. Anyway, I reckon we'll see you next time right here on Waylon Myers Old Iron, and I sure do appreciate you.